Kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push
This
yourself.
is the value of wrestling, the revolutionary force in wrestling podcasting.
It's your boy Miguel Z with the VOW Wrestling New Japan Rebound Podcast. I've got a guest for you folks at Stockton Con.
What up, everybody? AJ Kirsch here, the voice and the host of Stockton Con. The value of wrestling is awesome, so subscribe on YouTube. Scan the QR code right here, now. Subscribe, check it out.
There we go.
You'll be glad you did.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, that's what. Hey, man, shout out the value of wrestling. I'm right here with the Big O's, San Jose. We done shut the shit down. Love and respect, though, right? Value of wrestling. Hello.
Man, thank you, brother. Thank
Oh, you didn't know? You better get ready to party la-di-da-di. It's Sunday afternoon out here on the West Coast, out here in California. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. This is the Value Wrestling. This is your weekly roundup for March 17th, 2024. Happy St. Patty's Day. Raise them up, toast them out. If you got them, you do it, and we will do it in style. As always, we are here. We are live. We got a lot to talk about. Mercedes Moné. Was it big business or was it a big bust? Tony Khan, AEW Tag Team Tournament. What do we think about that? What are the ratings saying? And are the ratings important in the world of professional wrestling? Are you not a pro wrestling fan if you give a about ratings? We'll discuss that. What makes you a pro wrestling fan, and who gets to decide who's a real pro wrestling fan and who's not a real pro wrestling fan? Maybe we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're going to talk about a lot of other stuff. We won't talk about some people, but that's a whole different story and a whole different time. But first, let's get into introductions. First, the mastermind, the legend, the one, and every week, gentlemen, welcome to the show. Welcome to the party. Dotty. How are we feeling today? How are we feeling this week, Mr. Clarke?
Another wrestling week. We're inching that much closer to WrestleMania. That's still going to be the big talking point for me.
Mr. Z, your thoughts?
Well, first off, a hell of a week in wrestling. Good, bad, and different. But real quick, guys, wait. I gotta say it. This is AJ Kirsch's gimmick shirt. I had to rock it today. Just show love to our boy over there.
Yes.
Waiting for that big business to happen.
Yes. Value Wrestling can bring its own big business very soon. We're trying to work with AJ Kirsch and his time constraints. He's a very busy man, especially going into WrestleMania season. But as soon as we can work out the fine details, we are going to be very excited. Me and Mr. Miguel will be sitting down with Mr. Kirsch, hopefully doing a wonderful interview. We deep dissect, hopefully maybe getting a foot in the door to checking out maybe some Hood Slam Wrestling. Maybe we can, venture to one of those shows, bring that onto the channel, a little taste, and teach you guys what Hood Slam Wrestling is. And as we've all talked about, we are very big into independents, and we want to work with a lot of the independents here that we can touch base with, because we want to get to know the future of professional wrestling. And if we can, we want to bring these folks on air or, working with us or through us, hopefully in some form or another, that we can introduce you, at least here for right now. Maybe that expands, but the future wrestling stars of tomorrow, that's definitely something we are craving and looking into. We're starting to plug into these things, so hopefully as this year continues, we'll be connected to those things. There's a couple of events that are upcoming that we know about. Mr. Z's working in the background on trying to make sure those things are fine lines so we know when, where, and how to get there. And as we know more details and when and where, we will definitely put that on air because we're going to be there. We'll want you to come out and visit us if you're in the Northern California, Central California, Bay Area. If you're close enough to come in, we'll be there, and we're going to invite you to come out and join. Where should we start today, gentlemen? What's the hot topic button? I mean, I think the big one is a $5 million contract a year rumored. This is not for certain. This is just what I'm kind of digging in and trying to figure out. Possibly $5 million a year over a 5-year deal with a 3-year opt-out. Is this Mercedes Monet's agreement? I don't know for sure. This is just what we've kind of pieced together. And
An
what
estimation.
is? Yes, this is an estimation of what we've gathered. Nothing proofs positive, nothing hardcore, nothing like Okada. We know Okada's deal. That definitely came out fast. But what is Mercedes Monet making? We don't exactly know. What we've heard in the rumor mill, take it with a grain of salt theory, is around $5 million over 3 to 5 years. Could very well be interesting. Who knows? Maybe somebody
Now,
can
is
come
that
on.
for total contract or is that per year?
I believe that's per year, $5 million a year per year for 3 to 5 years. From what I've gathered. Now, I could be wrong, so don't take it to heart. Take it with a grain of salt. We've invited Tony Khan to come join us today, so if he wants to clarify with what he can, he may not be able to tell us precise details, but if he can tell them, he can go on here and say, no, you guys are wrong, and that's fine. But I mean, from what we've gathered, she's definitely the highest paid woman in wrestling, is the statement that I am hearing.
What does this say? What does this say for the other women, the ones that have been there for a while since day one, like Britt Baker, Chris Statlander? Like, how are they going to feel about that, knowing that someone just walked in and took way more money than they get?
No, it could be very interesting, and how that plays out and where that all goes. But looking at Dynamite this week and how it played out, we opened with Mercedes Monet. She came out and gave her interview, and yes, we did an AEW. I'm trying to find something in here real quick as we go over this. But she opened up Dynamite, and yes, me, Mr. Clarke, did a Dynamite review on all that. We talked about it. We got the details. We told you how we felt about it. There we go. But and now I know a lot of people thought it was great. It was amazing. She came out here in her hometown and gave a heartfelt statement. But I'm sorry, I think anywhere else in any other venue, that statement wouldn't have worked. I'm not trying to come out after Mercedes like it was anything bad. I mean, she came out, she gave a rah-rah speech. She said, if I can do it, you can do it. But I didn't feel like there was anything added to it. I don't feel like this was big business. I don't feel like this is what we were hyped to get into. We got a cheerful, I'm thankful, and we're glad she's here. We're glad she's in AEW. We hope that she can do something productive to change some dynamics, make the women's division feel more important in AEW. But again, she can only do so much. There's somebody else that is still at the head of that table that has control. This show just didn't feel like it. Well, the show was one thing. Let's talk about that. Mercedes Monet just didn't feel like, I don't know. She gave a great speech, but there wasn't like that ending that connected me to the next piece. What is exciting me for what's coming next? What was exciting me to continue to watch the show to the end, other than I come here and talk about it? What is, the value, and what did you give me in this segment that's going to make me want to come back next week? Now, Mercedes Monet, namesake alone, yes, you look at her as a great talent. She's great in ring. And yeah, we're going to see her match, but I don't feel like anything was there to develop a story. Anything was there to really develop anything. It's just like, I'm here. And I mean, if we look at some of the
That's
other,
the way it felt.
Yeah.
And if we look at some of the other moments, though, over the weeks, we had Ospreay make his official AEW debut as an All Elite member. We saw Okada. And Ospreay has been used huge. Ospreay's music, the way he comes out, he's got a bigger burst than Mercedes Monet did. And it's just a fact. And then people were tight about Mercedes Monet's entrance music. It's screaming CEO 100,000 times is a little ridiculous to me, but it is also, if you hear the finer point, you're like, isn't this the same music that Walter/Gunther originally came out to? And it's still the very beginning of what Imperium uses. Dovark's Sympathy Number 9, New World, the Allegro, something, I forget how to say it all. Is what that is.
Okay.
It's the same thing that Slash Walter Gunther used. It's still what the very beginning of Imperium used. And so it's kind of like, is it fitting for her? A little bit. The CEOs are a little bit ridiculous, but I'm like, if you're paying a woman $5 million a year, supposedly, this is what we've gathered through digging around, not that we know for a fact. It's just what we assume to know based on some stories. Why wouldn't you invest the money into music? I mean, we could use that theme song. We could go find that same song, use it to open the show with, because it's pretty much a copyright-free song. It's in the
royalty free.
Yeah, it's in the domain. It's been around long enough that So it's like you're bringing in Mercedes Moné. You're using that entrance song. How many people are going to tie that back to Gunther Walter? Going, oh, that's the same song, and now you're thinking about WWE instead of AEW or Mercedes Moné. And we know Mercedes Moné is related to Snoop Dogg. And Tony Khan has all this money. You're going to invest all this money into bringing Mercedes Moné in, but you're not going to invest any money into a theme song. And I don't know. Maybe there was talks. Maybe she doesn't want anything. She doesn't want Snoop to have, help her with the song. I don't know if she thinks that if that will somehow blend that he helped her get there when, she's done everything on her own. I respect the fact that at 13, she dropped out of school, took care of her brother, found a way to live out her dreams. She's made it here. We're not docking Mercedes Moné on any of this. It's just the promo didn't feel like it carried anything. And then you're listening to the theme song. It just didn't have the impact of what, and this may have been the fact of the matter that we were set up to believe, big business was going to be something big, and it just didn't live the hype. Mr. Clarke, I'm going to give you the floor again. I know we kind of touched on a little bit of this, but now we're getting a little more deep dive into, not just a Dynamite show, but her promo and this theme song.
But she's the CEO, and we care why. If you're not giving me a reason to care, like that, the whole night, it's like, okay, she's here, great. But where are we going from here now that you are here? And that's what she didn't give us. And that was my biggest issue with the promo, was that what are we doing? Where are we going? Are we going for the women's title? Are we going for the TBS title? Are we starting with a specific feud? And it's like, what are we doing? The fact you're here, it's like, well, we've done talked about this for the last several months. So you have to give me something more than, okay, now you're officially here. That's what the All Elite graphic is for. We know.
Mm-hmm. And the theme song just didn't. I get she's the CEO, but I mean, did we have it screamed at us? I mean, was that to get the fans chanting? And again, do you feel this promo, this entrance, and everything, if it would have been anywhere else but Boston, would have worked in the same way? Yes, the crowd loved her, but she was home.
I think she still would have got a pop, but she wouldn't have gotten the kind of pop she got because it was in Boston.
Mr. Z, I know you weren't here to talk with us on Wednesday night, so you get kind of a fresh perspective. You've had a little more time to digest this and not talk about it. You got to watch it, and I know you've gotten to probably stew a little more, and especially coming from a guy who loves New Japan Wrestling, who saw Will Ospreay coming into AEW, and kind of like, you're mid-ground, and then you've seen Okada, and I think more the fact that the debut of Okada, you're just kind of like, this is lackluster. Now, of course, Sasha or Mercedes Moné is more tied to WWE than maybe New Japan. Yes, she had a short stint in New Japan. I don't know if she ever got to really do what she wanted to do. But what were your thoughts?
First off, I seen the entrance and I seen how it started. First off, they could have built up a little more. Like, I like your take on it when she arrived in a Mercedes. They could have just kept the camera on her, walk to Gorilla, walk out to the arena while the crowd's hyped. Mm-hmm. They could have done that. The entrance music, they honestly could have used what she had in New Japan. It would have been better. I mean, I liked it. Her rah-rah speech, we've heard it a million times from everybody. I kind of felt like her promo sounded like CM Punk talking about the younger ones in the back to work with.
Rehashed.
So yeah, it just fell flat. It just didn't feel as important as it should have. But I mean, it kind of doesn't help either saying you're not going to be there for a long time either.
No.
When you're talking about that doesn't help.
She didn't necessarily say that in prior interviews. She did say she's going back to WWE, but she did kind of say, and then a lot of people are speculating. Oh, she said she was home here, but she said WWE's home. I'm like, she's in Boston.
Yeah.
But here's the other fact. A big point that's kind of been picked apart by different people. She said this was the only place to take the Revolution, the Evolution global. And I'm like, but you were just in WWE where you could have done that, and they're more global than anybody. Yes, AEW has a global presence in its way, but I don't know if I can label AEW as quote-unquote global yet. Do they have footprints? Yes. Do they have partnerships globally? Yes. But I don't know if they're as global as WWE. So it's very strange to hear her say, oh, this is the only way to take the Revolution global. I don't know. And then when you take into calculation she plans to go back to WWE because that's where it all started, you're also like, okay. Does she set herself up with saying things like, oh, this is the only place I can take the Evolution, Revolution global? But then just days prior, she was talking about going back to WWE. Does this hurt her look and image as she stands in the ring on AEW Dynamite saying these things when you're kind of going, but Mr. Z, what do you think on that aspect?
I was gonna say too, yeah, that doesn't help. Because you got the AEW has a fan base that has been their ride or die from the get-go. The same 600,000 that's been watching every week. I'm buffering a viewership here. The same 4 or 5 grand that's in the stadium, that's in the venues every week. They have a core fan that will turn on you if you speak ill of their product. I mean, I've seen it myself on Twitter. I say what I say, and I don't care. But it didn't help either, real quick, but they didn't help either at the end of it, her coming out to save Willow. I know that they've had something going on. I know the New Japan fans have had something new about it. But your casual fans don't understand where the relationship is between those two.
Yes, and there was a very interesting, because at the end of her promo, she's like, and Willow, we have some unfinished business. So you're like, oh, okay. And then she also announced that Willow Nightingale versus Riho was going to be the main event match of the night, which I don't know if that did anything for anybody. And I don't think you can just, we'll get into that a little bit. But, she did do that. And then when she came out, and then she helped Willow Nightingale, and they kind of didn't do anything to progress the storyline. They're like, they raised hands and they act like they're best friends, so you're just even more confused by, okay, the way she's like, we have unfinished business, but you're out here celebrating with her. Now, Mr. Clarke probably can give us a little more in-depth on this, and I know he's dying. I can see he's itching. But go ahead.
He's chomping at the bit.
Well, because you have to understand, when Willow won the Strong Women's Championship, they did show a little bit of that on AEW TV. So it's not like the AEW fans don't know. They're not reminded. I'll give you that. Mm-hmm. But it's like, there is understanding if you're one of those tribalist AEW fans and you actually pay attention. The phrase there is pay attention.
Well, but let's put the other phrase. If you're tribal, if you're a hardcore AEW fan. Now, the casual fans that are there,
but that's also who's actually watching the show. Casual fans are not watching the show, or else they'd be at 1 million or above. So it's like, I'm not even talking to the casual fans at this point because Tony Khan's not doing well enough to have casual fans around. He's not booking the show in a way that would want the casual fans to come in.
Well, and that's heir apparent. And that's heir apparent because he's not giving the casual fans the history to believe who these people are. People showed up to see, I think a big majority of people showed up to see Sasha Banks. And I feel like we got more of a Sasha Banks than Mercedes Moné. I think there was somebody who pointed it out that it was a different name, but all the same mannerisms, all the same characteristics.
Yep.
Yeah. And as we look at it, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of poking fun at her little dance. It's just like, oh,
You
come
look
on.
like a ghost, bro. Like you're like disappearing into
Yeah,
the
I saw
abyss
it.
while you're dancing.
And it's very apparent when we look at the ratings this week. And I know there's people out, oh, if you look at the ratings, you're not a wrestling fan. If you look at the ratings, we didn't look at the ratings when you were young. I'm like, yeah, I think we looked at the ratings. You know, we couldn't dive into the Nelson ratings back in the day. And yes, ratings across the board for wrestling are down. WWE's doing good things. SmackDown was up 6% this week. So, I mean, the ratings are here or there. And yes, the ratings across the board are down for all. But again, when you have a show with a big name like Mercedes Moné, you expect that you're going to bring attendance. And AEW started off with 1 million viewers at the start of the show. And by the 8:15, 8:30 quarter hour, they had lost over 111,000 viewers because they were down to 899,000. So Mercedes Moné left, and everybody who was there to see Sasha Banks looked at it and said, okay. But they did not give you a reason. They didn't give any of these people mostly a reason to hang around. They didn't give them any reason to really check in or anything. I mean, it was just kind of like, okay. Mr. Clarke, I know you want to add here before we move along.
To say that we didn't pay attention to ratings when we were kids is actually a bit of a lie. Now, every individual fan, no. But if you cared about that stuff, you paid attention to Dave Meltzer because he talked about the ratings. So ratings have always been in discussion if you cared about it.
And the biggest thing is the ratings got thrown in our face during the 83 weeks of the wrestling war. WCW said we were beating him. It was there. And I think then we were worried about, yay, we like WCW winning, but we're also like, okay, is this bad for WWE? Where are they going? What is WWF doing? What are they going to change? Yeah, they flushed ratings out into us during the Monday Night War. They pushed ratings. They talked about ratings. I think sometimes they even threw out some of the numbers, but it was, sprinkled in where it wasn't a mass thing. But, I mean, it was there. I mean, if we weren't talking about ratings, would the story of the Monday Night Wars be there? Would 83 weeks matter that much? I mean, that's what it was about.
WCW would be called 83 weeks.
Yes. WCW beat WWE in the ratings for 83 straight weeks. And forced WWE to change its ways if it wasn't for the ratings in that time frame. So, I can't say you're not a wrestling fan if even as a young kid that we may not have been able to get a report as detailed as easily, but we were still concerned about, okay, what are the ratings? Are they good? Where are we? And it was thrown out there. Now, we know that it went from 1 million to 890,000 in that first quarter hour, and then we go into the next quarter hour from 8:30 to 8:45, and we dropped another 50,000 roughly, because it dropped down to 815,000. So people may have stayed around for saw Mercedes, said, okay, they stayed around because they got this. Joe came out next. Joe was a familiar name, and then they saw some chump named Wardlow get choked out like a booch, and Wardlow's career's over. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine, but Wardlow's done. And if you think there's any more salvaging of Wardlow, if there's any way, granted, now, I understand. Now, when I say my opinion, don't get it twisted or not, don't get your panties twisted or not, that, yeah, I know very well Tony Khan and all these little writers could write away that, oh, you didn't make me tap out, you choked me out, but I'm not done. I mean, yes, there's a way you could write it, but am I going to invest my time? Is the audience going to invest their time? Is the audience going to give a hootenanny, that you rewrite, try to... Go ahead.
Do I need to go back for the was it the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle? They were left laying in a toilet, and they couldn't bounce back from that. Another thing too, I want to applaud Tony. You had the venue where you can pan the entire crowd. It was filled. I don't know when the last time you did that one, but I want to know how many fans stayed during that whole show, because there could be ones that just wanted to see what was up and then left.
But I mean, we saw Joe choked out Wardlow, and that probably, because then they went from 815,000 to 845 to the 8:45 to 9 p.m., which was kind of in that time with Okada, the Elite, the Young Bucks, and it went from 815,000 to 773,000. That's a huge.
Tampon Bucks do it again.
That's a huge chunk that people are looking at this going, okay, we saw this guy that we're supposed to care about. People are losing interest. Now, you go at the 9 o'clock hour, and what a lot of people do is they tune out. They'll watch the beginning, and they'll be like, I'm not interested. They'll go watch their other show. What happens at 9 o'clock? Yeah, they had a huge jump back up to 798,000 at that time. And I think this was the Jay White, Darby Allin time, so people probably stayed. It climbed up another 1,000 around the 9:30. So people come back after the hour to see what's going on. If it's interested, then they hung around. But by the 9:30 hour, they had lost that group. They were down to 732,000. And then for the last 15 minutes for the Willow Nightingale Riho match, 627,000 people. For the match that was announced at the beginning, you could not keep. I mean, that's over.
It's sad.
That's over 30% of your audience from the beginning of the show checked out by the end of the show. That got announced what the main event was. You didn't do anything to keep people excited or get interested in it. So the people weren't there to see how the night ended for Mercedes. And then you're talking about Will Nightingale and Riho, which it's not
the best show ever.
It wasn't the talent. It's not the talent that didn't have a dang good match.
No, it never is.
But it's, the people
they had
not
a solid
interested.
match.
Yes. Had a very
Just no
solid
one
match.
cared. Just no one cared. And the thing is too, we mentioned a few times TV rights deals, how that goes. Does this not apply at all for Tony Khan? Is he like bulletproof? Because good God, bro.
Well, and we haven't heard any more about WB, Warner Brothers Discovery, and AEW. Have we heard any more? Tony Khan said he was in talks, and now that WWE is going to Netflix with Raw, they've signed SmackDown to USA, and CW has NXT. AEW has not said anything about making a new agreement. Tony Khan keeps trying to sell that everything is fine, and I'm sure they'll renew that. But how much longer if the ratings stay in these numbers? And these are the average numbers. The numbers are somewhere between 650,000 to about 800,000 seem to be the same numbers for AEW Dynamite. Numbers for the other programs are even lower, but we don't even really acknowledge those shows because Rampage is an hour long of really nothing. And then Collision is this show that Tony Khan doesn't put any emphasis to get you interested to go over there and watch. And when you have Adam Copeland out there pulling a Mick Foley and an Abyss pulling out a barbed wire stick and calling it Spike, and you're just like, nah, we've seen this enough times. It's not interesting. And that's not Adam Copeland's character. If I say Mick Foley and Abyss and Adam Copeland, one of these things is not like the other.
Right.
So
I was gonna say we talked the 83 weeks. We talk about that. I actually listened to 83 weeks. Speaking on that note, and he's talked about why Turner Television period didn't want wrestling. He goes, my reasons were different. They didn't want me on air. He goes, Tony's willingly putting himself off air. He goes, he's gonna get to the point where those guys are gonna be like, you know what, we don't need this no more.
Yes. I mean, at some point, this network may re-sign Tony Khan and AEW to another term, but at some point, they're going to look at it and go, it's just not. What are we going to get? Because what it is the people who are viewing this show, the commercials. If they can't get the commercials that are good, the advertising companies are going to want to need the views. And if they can't get the big advertisers to come in that are going to pay the big money to this network for those time slots, they're not going to stay around. I mean, who's AEW really had that you can say, oh, it's a big deal?
Domino's Pizza. Sorry.
I mean, it's not there. You don't see the huge part. I mean, WWE's got Slim Jims. WWE's got Prime, which is huge, whether anybody wants them in it or not, whether you like it or not. It's a huge brand these days. WWE knows how to work with these big brands. AEW doesn't seem to have that connection. And there comes a time where a TV network has to look at it and go, it's just not working out. Let alone, I mean, Tony Khan has two brands. One brand he's floating around, throwing stick fit the wall. He's got 3 TV shows. One TV show he does decent on, the other 2 kind of like, and it's fine. Why don't you focus AEW Dynamite on growing your audience, and then why don't you make Dynamite Collision? Do what you do on Dynamite right now and put it on Collision. Then draw those 800,000 hardcore fans to Collision. Then AEW Dynamite should be this show that you're developing that's reaching millions and bringing in that casual audience. This is your flagship show. Make it feel like your flagship show instead of wasting the time. And then I think we can talk about Mr. Clark's favorite program of wrestling that is dying and bleeding out everywhere, Ring of Honor. I mean, has Tony Khan not just proverbially kept shooting that thing in the foot? Mr. Clark, I'll let you lead the way on that conversation.
Yeah, in our group chat, I sent y'all a link on someone else's take on what's happening with Ring of Honor, and I couldn't deny it. It's like so much wrestling talent, even at the lower end, so much talent, so not being used the way they should be.
Well, and it's not like they're, and I agree with the content. They go, we need to get Ring of Honor titles off of AEW TV. And
Absolutely.
Here's why that is, because they're overshown on AEW TV, so they don't feel important. And, if they're on Ring of Honor and you make them Ring of Honor champions, and you have to go watch Ring of Honor to see them, then that's great. It should be like NXT, where you bring stars from AEW to help out on Ring of Honor, but keep Ring of Honor there. Now, you can bring up Ring of Honor stars to help fill in spots or make little splashes here and there, but you don't need the Ring of Honor champions on TV all the time. And, the right people wearing those belts is going to be key. Now, coming up at one of the shows, Eddie Kingston's defending the Ring of Honor title. I forget against who now. We talked about it. But it's very interesting because it seems like the Triple Crown thing is done. Because we know that the Continental Crown is going to be facing, Eddie Kingston going to be facing Okada next week for that title. And then on April 5th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Ring of Honor Supercard, is it?
Yeah, Supercard of Honor.
Yeah, Eddie Kingston's going to be defending that title, and I forget the Ring of Honor world title against somebody. Maybe the Triple Crown titles, as they had put it out there, are going to be done. Maybe they're finally going to separate those titles. But that Ring of Honor title needs to feel important, and it should be on Ring of Honor. But I agree. Let it be a breeding ground for your younger stars. And then when you bring your younger stars on TV, please give us something instead of just throwing them on Collision, letting them beat one of your biggest factions that you just kind of poop on all the time. Anyways, I mean, Tony Khan has no love for the House of Black. I mean, we had the infantry, which I know Mr. Clark is going to, defend who they are. But for me, I don't know who they are. I don't watch Ring of Honor. So you put them on.
Well, because the thing is, before they were the infantry, they were both guys that were on AEW Dark Evolution. So I have a little more familiarity because I actually watched those shows.
Yes. And there's that. And I don't.
Casual fan did not.
Yes. And see, I don't say that in a negative way, but I know Mr. Clark has watched some of the more stuff, and he's more of a loyalist to Ring of Honor, and he's seen these guys, so he knows a little more. I don't know who they are, and Tony Khan's never done anything to introduce them. And then they come on Collision to be in a wild card to get into a tag team tournament for the AEW titles, and you haven't beat an established tag team faction in the House of Black because of Mark Briscoe. Then you're just like, okay, we pooped on the House of Black again, and then the infantry is who? Of course, their first round's against FTR, so it's kind of like they're getting fed. But it's like, you at least would have let me know who these guys are and why they might stand a chance to beat the House of Black. Not the shenanigans, then maybe I give them more credit. But otherwise, I look at them as jobbers. And that's from the casual fan who's not going to sit here and, really delve in. Mr. Clark is the guy who's been watching all this stuff, passionately watching Dark and Elevation and Ring of Honor because he believes in AEW. Tony Khan hasn't inspired me. Did I love AEW in the beginning? Yes. I was happy to see AEW. Mm-hmm. AEW was hitting on cylinders, and it's just, Tony Khan feels like he's become the Vince McMahon of wrestling now. Just the way of looking. Do what? The later years, yes.
Of the later years.
Of just doing things just for his entertainment more than what the fans want. And it's proven, and this is why we talk about the ratings. Now, people who say, if you talk about the ratings, you're not a real wrestling fan. I say, shove it up your pie hole. Define what a real wrestling fan is to me before you get to judge and condemn everybody who doesn't agree with you in what a wrestling fan is. I mean, you don't get to just...
Well, here's about the ratings. When you talk about the ratings, you're talking about not just one individual wrestling fan, but multiple, the masses, who's paying attention live on the spot. So how can you say you're not a real wrestling fan if you're talking about ratings? You're talking about the network, so to speak. Who's watching those shows live?
And yes, the demographics
real quick. I would love for wrestling to go back to what it once was, where I do have it on my previous button of a show going on at, if not the same time. But with the way things have gone for Tony and AEW, I don't think it'll ever get to that point where people are excited to watch one show and be like, I can miss this one, so I can watch this one. They got something good over.
For me, it's a little bit of a different experience because I like to watch multiple companies, and if they're all competing, I'm like, ooh, no, I want to be able to have time to watch all of it as I can.
And digest it. And of course, we're in a different market where people are, DVRing and watching it later, or watching it at their own pace, which is great and dandy. But again, there is still that ability to pull those people in and make them watch that night. If you make it exciting enough, and this goes to both brands. I mean, AEW and even WWE should be doing this. Even TNA need to create programming where people are like, I don't want a DVR. I want to be there live. I want to see what it's going on. I want to be on Twitter talking to my friends because, it used to be in the day when something would go down, we were all at the same house, we'd be calling each other like, dude, did you just see that? Did you just see what the NWO did? Did you see what DX did? Did you see what Austin did? I mean, those were the days. And so now we have X, Twitter, whatever its name's now. And so we should be doing that. You should be pulling, everybody, all the brands should be pulling us in, making us have to be there live because it's great, but we don't want somebody to spoil it. That's the key. Yes, the spoilers are out there, but if you make it good enough where we're like, hey, we don't want to know about the spoilers, we want to see it live, you're going to bring in that audience. Don't give me the excuse, oh, but there's people who DVR and watch it later. Now, granted, people work. We're in a different environment where not everybody works 9 to 5, so there's still people that are going to DVR. But a lot of places now have TVs in their break rooms. I mean, there's still people who are like, there's people that talked about when they saw Mercedes on TV, they were sneaking off to the break room to watch, this part of it, which is great to see what happened. But I mean, both companies, all the companies could be doing better about how you get people to watch it live. And that's the big thing. And of course, we know AEW can bring, because in the beginning, AEW was hot. Now, granted, WWE sucked big balls and Donkey Kong, King Kong Twinkies.
Did you just say King Kong Twinkie?
Hey, I'm trying to keep it PG. You know what I'm saying? I know you haven't ridden in a car with me in traffic yet. One day you're going to get that privilege and you're going to have a laugh right. Mr. Clarke knows very well that sometimes the strangest things can come out of my mouth. I forget what his favorite one is, and I don't know if I could ever repeat it in that moment.
Creativity is strong in that one.
But, damn it, now I lost all train of thought. Where were we going? Oh, everybody needs to bring it. Enough. But we know WWE used to be good, and WWE used to be crappy. Now WWE is crappy, and it's like Tony Khan's lost his way, his identity, and he's trying to buy up everybody. And he feels so WCW, and it's just like, and not good WCW. Like, it's just not there.
As I mentioned before, AEW has always been it's always been the spiritual successor to WCW. In the beginning, it was the good parts of the WCW. In the more present, it's now the bad parts of WCW. But they've always wanted to be WCW.
Yeah, but I mean, now they're
WCW Thunder, and not in a good way.
Well, now they're starting to feel like TNA. Like every once in a while, they'll get a gym, but then they fall apart. You know what I'm saying? It's
Tony, there's plenty of guys on the market you can go get that are good with creative and can help you, sir. I'm pretty sure
the
there's
big thing
someone
is,
on the market.
Tony, quit booking for your entertainment. Quit booking for the audience that you already have. If you want to do that, make Collision that. I mean, this is what WWE did for a while with Raw and SmackDown. Raw was what Vince wanted. SmackDown became more of, okay, we're going to cater to the wrestling audience. There was a difference between SmackDown and Raw. You have 3 shows. Why can't you give me... Dynamite should be your flagship focus show, and this is a show that you should be catering to get all audiences into. This is the one that you should be reaching out to that casual audience and bringing them in. You should be... You hit 1 million this week with Mercedes Moné, meaning there's people that are interested in who will give you the opportunity, so why aren't you doing what it takes to bring them in? Once you bring in that first 2 of the million, I think you can go over that because you're going to get people talking, and the more people talk, the more people are going to come in. And then focus Collision on your show. Let Collision be the show you want, where you put on these matches that you think are entertaining, and the hardcore fans can watch that, and that'll maintain. But if you're not growing your brand, you're not going to develop. If you don't develop, you're not going to go anywhere. We've seen that with TNA. TNA had moments where it came from here and got there, and then it dived, and it came here and died, and came here and died. And yes, we can say many different elements in there. You can say when Hulk Hogan and Bischoff came in there, they affected it. When Dixie Carter had it, she affected the direction. And so what are we talking about? We're talking about the booker. So who has the ultimate control in a wrestling company? When did WWE go sour? When Vince was booking bad. Who is in control? When did WCW go bad? Who's in control? Who is to blame at the end of the day? It's the booker, right? So if the booker's messing up, the booker's making the program look bad.
It's always a Vincent trouble, isn't it? Whether it's WCW or WWE.
But I mean, when Hogan and Bischoff were running TNA, there was hot stuff and there was bad stuff. Who gets the blame? When TNA went down the rat hole and lost AJ Styles and pretty much killed off their audience by letting AJ Styles leave, whose fault was that?
Dixie.
who is the biggest blame for the ending of the original TNA, even though it's back now? Who was really the death of the original TNA? Dixie Carter. Once Anthem bought it from Dixie Carter and went on, and they moved away from that name because Dixie Carter had ruined, at that time, her way of things had ruined the flavor of TNA. And I know you're a big TNA fan. You were watching TNA back in the weekly glory days, or at least trying to. I mean, it's just facts.
You watched it in like the 6-sided ring days.
No, I'm talking about the weekly shows.
The original Wednesday pay-per-views before there was even a thought of 6-sided. Like when it debuted, I was trying to watch those shows.
I mean, me and Mr. Clarke had a
Daniels when he was feuding with AJ.
Yes,
I met him at an indie show in Modesto, out here in Modesto. Like it was cool at the Fat Cat. Main event was him and Timothy Thatcher. There's a name we haven't seen in a while.
If we go back to that time, me and Mr. Clarke were running our own little Fed online. Probably doing it with Tony Khan. Yeah. eFed, the fantasy booking eFeds, like Tony Khan. And at one point he had, I know I had Extreme, or Entertainment Extreme, which was my variation of what they did with Vince Russo and Sports Entertainment Extreme. And you were focusing more on, I forgot what you called your side of the brand again.
Completely Intense Action.
There we go. So it was the CIA versus the EX. So
there you go.
But I mean, he was into it back in the day.
But no, there was no TNA fandom in there whatsoever.
I mean, he was watching it back in the NWA TNA days when it was NWA Total Nonstop Action. When they were wrestling over that belt, when Ken Shamrock won that belt, when Ron the Truth Killings won a world title.
Woo! When he was a serious wrestler.
Oh man, yeah.
I mean,
that.
Mr. Clarke
to this day, but
Mr. Clarke rode through the 3 Live Crew to the Kip Brothers and the Chain Gang to the VKM and the Voodoo King Mafia.
That's what was you a fan of the VKM, the Voodoo King Mafia?
Yes and no. I did not like the name. I understood the point, though.
I think it was a great nostalgia trip. It was entertaining. It was a good kick because them two brought, what they bring to it. Anyways, AEW's Tag Team Tournament. Let's talk about the biggest piece of garbage Tony Khan's put out in a minute. Okay, there. So we have a tag team tournament, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams in a tournament. 10 teams. There's all we could find in AEW. Now 4 of these teams, the Best Friends, Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta are going to take on the Don Callis family, Kyle Fletcher and Powerhouse Hobbs, and they're going to be whoever wins that match gets a wild card spot in this tournament. So those two teams have to face one another to even get in the tournament. And on the other side, we had on Collision the Infantry versus the House of Black, and the Infantry went on and won that. So the Infantry had a fight in the match to get a wild card spot, and of course they'll take on FTR. But we have the Young Bucks, Private Party, the Undisputed Kingdom, and Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. And then we have Ricky Starks and Big Bill, who we haven't heard anything since either of them since losing the titles. We have Top Flight and then Big Bill and Ricky Starks, when they lost the titles to Sting and Darby. And then we have FTR in there. And FTR will take on Infantry. But why such a I wish Tony Khan would show up. I want to ask him one question. Why such a lackluster tournament? Why? Why do we only have 10 teams? And I mean, this is pretty much self-written. I mean, it's going to be the Young Bucks versus FTR again. Is that what we really want now?
No. No, we don't.
Ricky Starks and Big Bill need to be separated because Ricky Starks is going to be farther better on his own. Big Bill is just kind of, I don't know what to say. Poor guy. I think there's talent there. It's just not interesting.
They need to bring They need to bring Enzo back for Big Bill.
There's
and
no
Ricky Starks needs to put a and then
there's
Ricky
no
Starks
Enzo.
needs to call.
There's
Real one.
yeah, the real one.
Oh, the real one. And then Ricky needs to put a phone call into Cody, being like, "Hey, help me out."
Well, there was rumors coming out of Rajay Gur saying that he had signed with WWE, but now he's in this tournament. I'm like, how can he be in this tournament if he signed with WWE? Make it make sense. But here's the thing: you look at Young Bucks, Private Party, and here's my big one: the Undisputed Kingdom. The Undisputed Kingdom's the Ring of Honor champions, right? So why are the Acclaim not in here? Why aren't the Guns in this tag team tournament? Because they're trios champions, so they're only good at trios champions. They can't be fighting for these these tag team titles. Why don't we at least get the Hardy Boys in here? Not that I want to see the Hardy Boys win this. Not that I want to see the Hardy Boys go way in here. But why can't the Hardy Boys have a match with Private Party in the first round? At least let Private Party get a win before you just throw them, execute them, jobber them out to the Young Bucks. Yes, the Young Bucks and them are going to have a flippy floppy, flying all over the place match. I get that. They're going to have a good match.
Favorite match.
You know, they're going to have a good match, but it's just like, does it really do? If Private Party has a great match, does it really do anything if they can't beat the Young Bucks? Are they really feeling important if every time you see them go out there, they're just losing to somebody? Can they put on a showcase of a match? Great, but does it do anything for them if they're never winning? So why couldn't they have like Private Party versus the Hardys? There's history there. You could have them beat the Hardys. It would at least make them feel special for a week, a little more important than just being fed in the first round to the Young Bucks.
Well, here's the thing about that too: is Private Party does have rich history, especially early AEW history with the Young Bucks. But I bet you Tony doesn't bring that up. There's no video packages. There's no reminders of why you should care, even for this match. Let alone, like you were saying, and like I've said also in the past about Private Party and the Hardys having history. Like,
let alone, when's the last time you remember Private Party winning a match?
Carry the 2, -11.
You got to divide that by 5.
Let alone, let's talk about. I thought Jericho and Hook were a thing. I know they're facing each other next week to see each other, but I thought they were supposed to be working together as a tag team in this, right? Maybe no. Where are Claudio and John Moxley in this? I mean, I thought BCC was a unit, but why are they not a tag team that's thrown in here for legitimacy? You know, who else is out there? I mean, I guess Menard and Cool Hand Luke are not a team anymore. They've gone their separate ways. That they officially broken up.
Storyline wise, they seem to have gone their separate ways for the time being.
One's in a love story, and the other one is somewhere.
Man, Daniel.
Why doesn't Darby Allin get a tag team partner in this? I mean, you know, he was just a champion. Why can't he get with what's his name? Was it Jake Hager that helped him last?
Yeah. We know why now, but now we know why he's not even in anything at this point.
No, he's gone. But
why? Gone from the company?
No, broke a foot.
Darby Allin.
Darby Allin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Darby Allin broke his foot. He can't even climb Everest this year.
Yeah, so that I know. I thought we were talking about Jake Hager.
No. Jake Hager, I think, is gone or almost gone, or something. I guess he's
halfway out the door, bro. He's got 1 foot out the door.
like Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews, I'm sure. Hopefully Brody King. But I mean, why couldn't we get some CMLL guys? You have like half a dozen of them, if not more, to come in and make a tag team. Why not give 2 tag teams of CML guys a moment to shine in this tournament? They may not be winning it, and that's fine, but at least it gives you a couple other aspects. What about the Gates of Agony? I mean, they're not a tag team we can't use.
Gates of who?
Yes, exactly. What about all the other? Oh, what about the Dark Order? Do we just? I mean, they're not important anymore, and we just relegate them to what used to be BETE or being the Dark Order. Oh, but okay, they're in Ring of Honor. But the infantry, who's infantry?
Again, Ring of Honor.
Okay, but they got,
and that's why they're going to get fed to the Young Bucks.
Well, they're getting fed to FTR first. But I mean, if you put
Tony book this, or did the Young Bucks book this just so they can get back on TV on a
Well,
constant
if
level.
Tony Khan is the end all be all, so it doesn't matter who may have wrote this up. He's the end all be all. If he looked at this and if the Young Bucks picked all these teams and decided this is how they want it, and Tony Khan approved it, then it's on Tony Khan. I don't give a damn. He's the end all be all.
Well, yeah,
and
but here's the thing too. It doesn't help that he has people in the back that go, "No, brother, that don't work for me." And he's like, "Well, okay, well, let's figure out something else."
Okay, so you're
They can
telling
say
me that Moxley and Claudio don't want to be in this tournament? Are you telling me the Dark Order wouldn't want to be in this tournament? Are you telling me that there's people that wouldn't want to be in a tournament for tag team championship?
Some guys like sitting at home collecting a check.
I get that there's people who say that, and usually it seems to be certain people. The one being Miro, it seems like he's having an issue. I don't know who else, but at least he's been the one that's been put on blast. But I mean, yes, we know there's people that don't want to do it, but you can't tell me that if you were told, hey, you want to be in a tag team tournament, that people wouldn't say, okay, yeah, I can win the tag team titles. Maybe get my moment to shine. That's a little different than being in storylines that they didn't like.
There are some that do, and there are some that don't. So I mean, I'm just speaking from what I've heard too. Like there's guys back there that be like, I don't want to be on TV this week. I'm at home collecting a check. I'm okay.
But again, like I was saying, infantry in this. So why isn't Dark Order? And I know Mr. Clarke says they're a Ring of Honor, and I get that they're on a Ring of Honor, but we have a Ring of Honor team, so you can't really use that excuse to say, well, they're Ring of Honor. And I know you're not using it as an excuse. You're just saying where they are. But I mean, it's like. Here. And of course, let's talk about the ones that seem to be blowing up Twitter, Facebook. We're seeing all these new videos for the Righteous. Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you're trying to build them, why aren't they in this tournament? Why aren't the Righteous that you seem to have brought in with all this fanfare? There was talks about they were possibly going to WWE and possibly joining the Wyatt Six at that time. Unfortunately, God bless his soul, Bray Wyatt. There was a time and a place for that, and then they went to AEW, and AEW seemed to be this big promising thing, and they've been just as big of a joke as House Black, and they're not even in this tournament. Gentlemen, your thoughts on this tournament? Anything you want to add? I mean, I hate to see the one that just sits here.
I wonder what we let the invite out there, Mr. Khan. How come you're not in our chat right now having a conversation with us, man? We have the questions and we just want an answer. I'm not excited for this tournament. We already know what's going to happen.
No.
The Bucks are going to win. We're going to get FTR Bucks 4, and the Bucks are going to win. The Tampon Bucks at it again.
I don't know if the Bucks are going to win, but we do all agree on at least the finals.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, looking at it, I don't know. Undisputed already have the Ring of Honor title, so I don't see him wearing both titles. Which maybe they should, because the storyline. Oh yeah, that's right. The Undisputed storyline's dead because they killed that by making Wardlow look like a puss. How does it? I mean, Roderick Strong's the most over aspect of the the Undisputed Kingdom, honestly.
Yeah.
But
Big
yeah,
Tyme!
it's going to be the Young Bucks versus it's going to be the Young Bucks versus FTR again, and I'm just like, I don't feel like this is anything of importance nor entertaining nor any reason to invest my time or effort. Mr. Clarke, your thoughts?
I can put.
Can you spin a positive spin on this? I know you're the power of positivity around here, or try to be.
I try to be, but when you look at the Righteous and you look at Lance Archer, like look at how they're used. No matter how much talent is actually in the performer, if you're not used in a way that makes sense, there's nothing they can really do. Yes, they're collecting the paycheck, and that's what a lot of people in this tournament, they'll be collecting the paycheck. How long will these matches go? Probably not that long to begin with. They'll create some fake hype, like we should care, but we won't, and it'll be in the moment as opposed to building, which is what as fans, who want to invest in need.
Well, I mean, we see it in the ratings. People.
I don't know how to spin this.
And we see it in the ratings, and then people like, not a pro wrestling fan, if you're worried about yeah, we have to look at the ratings, because if you're not keeping people interested, then what's the point in investing? And that's the biggest thing. As a wrestling fan, I want to be able to invest in somebody. I love Wardlow when Wardlow come out. I think we all liked Wardlow big time when he came out. We were like, this could be the next coming of Goldberg. We didn't want to necessarily make him the next Goldberg. Of course, you got the chance. Goldberg, yes, Wardlow, go. I mean, and it was fine.
Do you remember when we used to talk about, you and I would have these conversations off air about just playing, but kind of the idea of having Goldberg even come in to be Wardlow's manager. Yeah. Kind of give him that Goldberg rub.
No, and
So
I
it's
think
like,
we could at that
the
time
fact
we
that
could
we
have.
had these conversations tells you that we cared about Warlow at the time.
We even were happy with the fact of possibly having Wardlow versus Goldberg as a one-off where Wardlow could beat Goldberg and really get that rub, take that torch and run with it. And now we saw him with Joe. We thought the match was for Joe, but then it won and they dropped the title, won the title, dropped the title, and then it died. And then this drop out of Pinnacle was like, and then he just disappeared forever. And then he suddenly came back, and it was just kind of like, huh? They didn't make sense out of it. And then they threw in an Undisputed Kingdom. And you're like, okay, we're rinsing and repeating. Pinnacle, Undisputed Kingdom. Maybe he'll join the Don Callis family next. Whatever faction. Lord. Maybe he'll be part of the Dark Order and Ring of Honor here before the end of the year. Who knows?
Damn!
Holy smokes!
I don't know. You know what? I think Kim and Hangman need to make a tag team. The jabroni jobbing booches of the year.
We're gonna see Wardlow in a cowboy hat.
No, they don't get cowboy hats because they're not pulling no cowboys. Even Hangman doesn't even have the right to say he's doing cowboys because he's failed. He's a mockery of his half self. He's gotten punked out by Swerve, then got choked out just to or tapped out just so Swerve wouldn't lose the title. And you kind of go, I'm sorry. I understand the ability to suspend my disbelief and buy into something, but you can't rationale how you don't want to win a title. I think it was Dusty who said to DDP, if you're not here to win the world title, what are you doing here? So try and justify.
For me with this one too, with Hangman, I liked him. Bullet Club Hangman, the Hangman. That's what I was hoping for, and now I got Boots Cowboy.
Tell me one guy that came from New Japan Pro Wrestling that either feels as good as he did in Japan or better in AEW.
Do we have a cricket sound? I go all day. I'm trying to keep these up here and support them, but it's just.
Will Ospreay seems to be hanging, but I think.
We will say at least Will Ospreay for the time being is hanging. At least he's not as great as his New Japan run, but then again, because it wasn't weekly TV, it's a little bit easier to keep that up.
Yes. No,
right.
I think
there's checks and balances there.
Will Ospreay's great. He's being maintained. He had a great match against Takeshita. He had a great match where he elevated Kyle Fletcher to a level I would have never looked at Kyle Fletcher in that way. Of course, then when you throw Kyle Fletcher with Powerhouse Hobbs in a tag team tournament where him and Hobbs have to face Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta, which they're probably going to lose to, you kill what you just built with Kyle Fletcher. Like, how do you take somebody that you just had an awesome match with Will Ospreay, going to put him in a tag team title, but they're not, or tag team title tournament, but they're not even getting into the tournament. They have to fight in a wild card match against Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta, and the winners get to take on the Undisputed Kingdom, which leads me to believe that best friends are win, and Orange Cassidy's there, and Orange Cassidy's more of a favorite toy than anything else, and Powerhouse Hobbs is another one of those that can join the Wardlow Cowboy Hangman jabronis after he got duct tape. He body slammed the Giant, Big Show, Paul White, BS, the Captain Insane, or whatever you want to call the Mother Charker, and then got duct taped to the ropes like a booch and couldn't figure out how to get out of that. You're telling me a man that big couldn't break duct tape, and then you make me go, "Yep, he's the Boots Job Squad." Here's the new Job Squad. AEW has a Job Squad: Hangman Adam Page, Wardlow, and Powerhouse Hobbs. Who's next? So you made Kyle Fletcher look like $1 million by putting him in a match with Will Ospreay, but instead of carrying that ability on, instead of taking that match and continuing to make Kyle Fletcher feel like $1 million, and maybe making your next.
Here's the thing for me. I'm a Powerhouse Hobbs fan. Okay, Oakland Most Wanted. I've always been a fan. Great talent. Moxley put him over during the pandemic. Oakland's Most Wanted. He was trying to get him there, and between that time and now, like you said, he's a part of the Boot Squad, the Job Squad. He was going to be something big, but because no one knows how to do anything, it just falls flat.
But yeah, and here we saw Kyle Fletcher after watching him with Will Ospreay. I think we all look at Kyle Fletcher. I mean, maybe me more than you guys, but we looked at Kyle Fletcher like, this guy's actually awesome. He can actually do something. And Tony Khan's going to do zero with carrying that momentum. And that's where Tony Khan fails. He doesn't, when he's got the magic in the bottle, when he's got something, Kyle Fletcher could have been AEW's Will Ospreay. You could have bred him to be that next main eventer. He could have been a world champion if you would have taken the momentum with that match and continued to make him feel like he's that. Regulate him to a tag team title match that's secondary where they're going to lose the best friends. It's going to put out that fire so freaking fast.
I was, it kind of sucks with his tag partner not being there, Fletcher's partner, because last year, match of the year, them and FTR at one of the New Japan shows, the crowd was juiced for it. That match was insane. We could have had something like that maybe float over into the States and still built on it, but someone gets hurt, someone's not there, man doesn't know how to book. Hold on to he doesn't know how to keep the lightning in a bottle. He just okay, done.
Here's what I'm gonna say: when you talk about Will Ospreay, you talk about people who could come up after him in New Japan. Keep your eyes on Zack Sabre Jr. and remind him never come to AEW outside of Forbidden Door pay-per-view.
Yes. ZSJ is hot right now, folks. That's one you got to watch.
My question is just how much longer do we have with Will Ospreay before he starts to fizzle? I'm just worried Tony Khan's going to ruin that magic. And how many people does AEW really have lined up to take on Will Ospreay? How long can they go? I mean, yes, they could probably go a year, but after that first year mark, we get into the second year. How many people can they really line up? Because Tony Khan doesn't build stories for some of his main stars. It's just like they go through this person, they go on to the next person, they go on to the next person. We know he's going to go through Bryan Danielson, and then it's going to be on to the next. We expect him to be world champion by All In by the end of that show. But I mean, how many guys do you really have that are out there that are going to live up to the hype of Will Ospreay?
I don't know, bruv.
Don't know at all, bruv.
Anyways, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Big news coming out of the New Japan Pro Wrestling world. Mr. Z, platform, the floor. This is your moment to shine. Shine bright. What you got for us?
All right. So first off, David Finlay out with illness, could not finish the tournament. So in response to that, folks, we had your quarterfinals going on. Who do we have? Well, folks, I'll give you the semifinals because my sheet's all out of whack right here. But semifinals going into the 18th, Sonata against Hiroki Goto. And then for the other semifinals, folks, Yota Tsuji. I had no idea he was going to go far in this one against House of Tortures, Evil, stablemate to one Jack Perry. Jack Perry made it all the way to the quarters. I'm actually shocked that happened. The Scapegoat. Did you like his mask, folks? That's what I got to ask you. You like his new mask? The big black goat head, kind of looking like Mantar.
At least he doesn't look like Black Taurus.
Oh. But yeah, folks,
David was pulling off an Eric the Redbeard moment.
Yeah, but we had David Finlay was going into this hot, obviously, for losing the title. A lot of people picked him to win it, but illness, it happens. We all get sick, and it just took him out.
Mother Nature said, nah.
Not today.
Not this year.
So on Tuesday, folks, I will have your results. Who's going into the finals for the New Japan Cup? I mean, guys, who do you think with who's left?
Yeah, see.
New Japan Cup has always been those, those single tournaments have always been hard for me to even guess.
But you have the former IWGP heavyweight champion in the semis, Sonata, Hiroki Goto, who had a bye to begin this whole thing. Evil, I see him doing evil things like he always does. then Yoda Tsuji. I just want to know if Jack Perry's going to have a role to play in all of this. Is he going to help his boy get to the finals?
We'll definitely have to.
Yeah. But that's what I got going forward. Nothing really on the table right now. We're just getting ready for Sakura Genesis. So we'll keep moving forward.
Mr. Clarke, what do you have from the Clarke Report this week?
Do I look like Jim Ross? Do
Yes.
I look like
Yeet.
people who have their own reports?
Yeet. Okay, you want me, ladies and gentlemen, it is Mr. Clarke with the Yeet Report. PG, keep it PG.
I didn't say anything. There's no standards and practices that's going to take us off the air for that I'm aware of. But speaking of standards and practices, The Rock says standards and practices have issues with his language on WWE TV. The Rock says he'll keep speaking from the heart on WWE TV no matter how much the network's standards and practices divisions take issue with his language. The WWE star and TKO board member posted on his Instagram account to share a clip of his Rock concert from Friday's SmackDown and commented on his choice of wording. Rock wrote, "You sound like somebody The Rock can love, drunk and horny. Networks and standards and practices have issues with my language, but I'd rather be real than not. I take from the heart, shoot from the hip, and try to always have fun. Enjoy the Rock concert." First of all, I know WCW had a standards and practices division because of AOL Time Warner. I didn't know. I mean, does TKO care? I guess the USA Network would have one, I guess.
Well,
But
remember,
even then, they're usually pretty lenient.
yes, but remember the USA Network had standards and practices. Write a letter to WWE about the DX, which they wound up reading on air verbatim.
Right. You're right. It's been a minute. Don't mind me.
Just remember, it did not have. Never mind.
I did not sleep with that intern. We were up all night.
That's where I was going.
Long. But considering it is The Rock, I would think they would be more lenient. I mean, as long as there's certain things even he can't say, but those are just way extreme and way the bleep out there that you wouldn't see him doing in a promo anyways. Just the little bits and pieces that he does now, I wouldn't think are really that big of a deal outside of coloring the character in.
And we also have to take a step back because SmackDown's not on USA, it's on Fox. So I'm sure Fox Network has huge standards and practices.
Well, that's network. True. That's like local TV. Like you can't.
Oh no,
there's got to be a line somewhere.
Well, you're talking about Fox as a whole, which is movies, TVs, and I mean Fox is.
Right.
The Rock's The Rock. They're going to let him get away with what they want. They bleeped him out where they needed to be, but it's entertaining TV. It's good stuff.
Now, allegedly, I've heard from other podcasters and other sources that there's other talent that are quite irritated with this because everyone else pretty much has to go by what standards and practices say, where The Rock's like, nah, he can do what he wants. He can have a bit of that attitude-ish, but by the same token, he brings the viewers in, no matter what he says, whether we like it or not, whether we think it's cool or not.
At what point do we kind of say he earned that?
Between his work in WWE and outside, it's kind of like, well, like you said, he earned that right.
Kind of earned it, it's hard to say, no. And The Rock's not going to go out there to do anything to damage the program. The Rock's only there to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know. Hi. Anyways,
and if he goes into business for himself, it's going to be as a board member, not as a wrestler.
Well, it's going to be
again, he's there to help the show.
Going to be in storyline, anyways.
Yes.
Oh, so you got a cat? I got a dog down here. He's sleeping. He attacked my foot twice already.
You should have seen the other night. She was attacking me at the end of our show. I'm over here. She's like,
yeah, I seen that.
Arm. Like, okay, why are we so angry?
I don't know. Your true toy.
You want to talk wrestling? I'll give you wrestling.
Guess she's a Tony Khan mark. I don't know.
Oh no.
Or no. Anyways. Anything else we should talk about, gentlemen?
Not.
Pro wrestling fans? What's a pro wrestling fan to you, Mr. Clarke?
Someone who enjoys the show, regardless of why you enjoy the show. Whether it's the in-ring action, whether it's the storylines. I mean, it can be all the above or it can be just one. If you enjoy the show, that makes you a fan.
Mr. Z, what is a pro wrestling fan?
Someone that loves pro wrestling for what it is, right, wrong, and indifferent, is willing to talk about it and get mad about it. Maybe throw a rolled up piece of paper at the TV because you're frustrated with it. It's a love-hate relationship. We have it.
No. I think a pro wrestling fan is somebody who loves pro wrestling, who truly loves and endears themselves to pro wrestling, who's going to be there, who's going to watch it, who's going to give their feedback, their opinion, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. And I don't think you can justify by your own saying what makes you a pro wrestling fan, what makes other people not a pro wrestling. Everybody has their own way. Yes, I know. There goes the kitty cat for the camera. But you can be a pro wrestling fan in the way you want to be a pro wrestling fan. One thing we'll never be here to do is to tell you that you're wrong about how you are a pro wrestling fan.
I say it all the
Is
time
that
on.
right?
I say it all the time on the rebound. I'm right, wrong, and indifferent. We're all fans. We're wrestling fans for the wrestling fan. You got an opinion? Shoot it. We'll talk about it.
But if you're a pro wrestling fan, what you should be doing is making sure you hit the like button on this video because you're going to be a value wrestling fan. That's for sure, because we're going to give it to you straight. We're going to give it to you right. Make sure you ring that bell for notifications whenever we go live or new content comes out, because tomorrow we'll be here, me and Mr. Clarke, with your Monday Night Raw post-show review to break down everything going on that. Tuesdays, Mr. Z is here with your New Japan Pro Wrestling Rebound podcast, where he talks about everything going on in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Wednesdays, we're here with your Dynamite post-show review. Thursdays, Mr. Clarke brings you the weekend preview from that Thursday all the way up to Dynamite of the next Wednesday. So be ready for that. And then Fridays, we're always here for your SmackDown review. And then every Sunday, we're right here live for your weekly Roundup podcast. I've been
Roundup, buddy.
Roundup. I know. I've been pretty good about it recently. Just, get going. Anyways, we're always here at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to bring you the Roundup podcast. We're getting really close to WrestleMania weekend. We're getting really excited. We can't wait to see what's coming out of this. AEW doing their thing. Hopefully they get better. That's all we can ask for. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Become part of the Value Wrestling family. We are growing. We are moving. We are making things happen. Gentlemen, what a week it is for the Value Wrestling. We've had over 500 uploads. So congratulations. Each of us have put in our effort, our work, our due diligence. We put out as much content as we could. We tried to work on that. And together as a collective, we have over 500 videos for you to go watch. Old and new. So, yes.
There we go.
So that is a big milestone, gentlemen. So congratulations to each of you. Congratulations to Value Wrestling as a whole. 500 videos. Very awesome. What an achievement. If you want content, we got a lot of it. That's what we're saying. We also hit the 300 mark as of yesterday. 300 subscribers, which is awesome. We're still making that road to 1,000. We need you to hit that subscribe button. Join the Value Wrestling family. Help us grow. Help us develop. Help us reach that milestone. As we build forward, we got a lot of things in the works. Like I said, AJ Kirsch, we're talking with Mr. Z. He's talking with him directly. We're hoping to get him on air for an interview in the very near future. We're working with a couple of other independent fans that we're hoping to get involved with. We do want to bring you, at least for now, local independent wrestling around here. The Hood Slam. What are some of the other names that are out there in the area?
SPW, Ugly Dojo. I mean, the list goes on. PCW. We can keep going.
And we want to bring you these venues. We want to go to these events, maybe meet and greet you at these events. We want to be able to hopefully interview some of the stars of the future, and we are working on that very much. Mr. Z is bringing some of that information. We're going to work very diligently on getting those connections, getting those signed up for you, so we can bring you maybe the stars of the future right here on the Value Wrestling. So there's a lot of stuff. Get ready, get excited for. And I know both my boys want to see this guy that Joseph Brody. I mean, some big deal out here. I don't know. They keep telling me about this guy. I'm like, how, who, what, when? Okay, what? Tell me more. Let's find out. So that may be a big name that we get to get working with in the future. Without giving away too much information, we don't want to. We're that's one goal of what we have.
We're working, folks. We are.
Yeah, we're cooking in the kitchen. That is absolutely for sure. Does Bushido still exist, Mr. Z?
No.
Okay.
Damn.
No.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we got to wrap this up. We've gone for almost an hour and 20 minutes here. Going to be moving along with our lives, our daily schedule. Yes, it's lunchtime. So be back next week. 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here for the Value Wrestling Weekly Roundup podcast, where we bring in everything in the weekly news. We'll be back with Mr. Clarke and I tomorrow for your Monday Night Raw post-show review. But until then, gentlemen, say goodbye, so long, farewell, tell the audience good night or good day.
Good night, folks. Have a good one.
Good night.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one.
It's your boy Miguel Z with the VOW.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.